Hot Seat every weekday 7 to 8 p.m. It's hot, it's live, provocative, and digs deep into the issues. It's KFM's Hot Seat. The hottest debate on all relevant topics live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight. KFM's Hot Seat every weekday 7 to 8 p.m. KFM's Hot Seat only on 933 KFM.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hot Seat this Friday, the 8th of January, in the year of our Lord 2020. And with me in the studio is a panel of the most experienced journalists and pundits to discuss the major events of the week. Timothy Kalyegira, a historical on this show. Now, by the way, this year on March 5th, this show will reach its 19th year. It started 5th March 2001. It was a Monday.
It will be the 20th year.
21. Yes, it will be 20 years. Joseph, we have to host a big party. 20 years of this show on March 5th. So we will have a big panel. We need to invite Blake Lambert, Andrew Rice, Paul Busharizi,
Simon Kahero.
Simon Kahero. All of those guys have to come on this show. But then this evening it's going to be a very interesting discussion. I have Timothy Kalyegira, I have Obed Katurebe, and of course I have from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Quest Tabaro. Our discussion, first and foremost, the biggest story of the week: Bobi Wine evacuates his family out of Uganda. Timothy, you are a supporter of
that's not the biggest story of the week, but coming from you, that will be the biggest story of the year.
What is the biggest story of the week?
You know why?
Trump. We will come to that after that. We need to discuss an attempted coup in America. We are coming to that, but we need to begin with. Is there any story that has beaten Bobi Wine's evacuation of his family?
Well,
you are the Google analytic. Tell us, what is Google saying?
The beating up of Bobi Wine's supporters arrested. There is just so much going on.
But that's not the story.
It is ongoing.
It's like Andrew Mwenda went to host, what is this program called? The Hot Seat. Really? But it was not every Friday. They beat them every day.
So that's that's the week's story.
That's not the story.
etc. I know what you're looking for. Yeah, I know. I know the little I know the feud you're looking for. But since that's the angle that you want, yes, if that's the big story of the week, it hardly is. But Bobi Wine's children go to the US, and certain interested parties say, "You see, we told you, coward, and all this." And I don't know. He's
no. You on the 7th of December, 2017, on radio, Bobi Wine told me, old man of the clan, that when trouble comes in Uganda, you, Andrew Mwenda, will be the first person to board the plane and will be out. For us, we have nowhere to go. This is our only home. We will be stuck here. So we have a big stake to ensure the stability of the country. Now, Bobi Wine has evacuated first his family. We are not so sure whether next week on Thursday he will be in the country. He may evacuate himself on Wednesday night. And leaving all of us who have supported him in Noop, fought with him on the streets, he leaves us to the crocodiles in the CMI, in the police, in the PDF,
and then, but of course, Andrew,
eat us up.
But of course,
what kind of leader is that?
But as a few cynics have said, that the reason in particular, one Andrew Mwenda of Kanyandahi village is here, not in Washington D.C. or wherever. First, it's because you can see chaos in the U.S. Capitol, not very secure
That's why
place.
He's sending his
but
kids.
two also,
I like that. So Bobi Wine is doing a mistake. He's running from the flying pan to the fire.
But if if brother is in charge of security, surely that's the safest place on earth for a sibling. Some cynics say, I could be wrong, but their thought is, it's like saying Moses' cousin is like in Entebbe, where SFC is headquartered. I would agree that's the safest place for him. So if brother is in charge of security in Kampala, why go anywhere, Andrew? For some people.
But even you on Twitter, you accused me of saying since your family is the one in charge of security. Of course, there's no reason.
First of all, there's unclassified. You just wait 2 months from now, you will see Andrew has a new car. This time it's I don't know, it's a Volvo or something from classified bags for that, as some cynics think.
Yes, Obed Katurebe.
Well. I think Bobi Wine's idea of sending his children to the US, I think it backfired on his part, there is no amount of argument or whitewashing the whole idea of evacuating his family. Of course, the basic reason why he evacuated his family is that he anticipates violence. And usually the losers typical in Africa, but it's no longer typical in Africa. Even in the Western world, we have seen stubborn, bad losers who went to incite the population. So he doesn't want any ramification to affect his family. But the most unfortunate thing is his argument of sending his children, that he learned that the state wants to kidnap his children. Kidnap for what? Why kidnap a 2-year-old kid? But even if someone is even an adult, why kidnap them? It looked a very, very, very ridiculous statement. I wish I had said no. I have a liberty to send my children to where I want. But the most unfortunate was arguing that the state is looking for his children probably to harm them. That was the most unfortunate thing.
In fact, a mutual friend of mine and Bobi Wine contacted me and said, look, Bobi is scared that there will be harm done to him and his family, and he needs reassurances. I personally sent him a WhatsApp message informing him that I have consulted widely in security, and whatever protection he needs for himself, his home and his family will be provided to the hilt. The state of Uganda assures him all protection that he wants. But what do you think, Kwesi, of his action?
Well, I think Bobi Wine is being true to himself. He's being Bobi Wine.
What do you mean?
What is
Bobi
the
Wine?
last time he was beaten in Arua, he couldn't seek medical care elsewhere. He went to the US. When he felt his leadership skills needed to be polished, he went for some course at Harvard in the US. On his campaign, when he wants to inspire his crowds, he doesn't reflect on anyone else other than American figures or figures that are in good books with America. So it's Mandela, it's a mixture of Martin Luther King and any other person he could think of. So it's not surprising that he'd send his kids not to Kenya or Tanzania or any other country in the neighborhood or even South Africa, but the US and maybe not even the UK. So I mean, it just shows you the kind of and this I say as someone who is genuinely sympathetic to Bobi Wine. It just shows you there are certain things he does that show you some kind of amateurishness in his politics. Maybe he may know certain things that we don't know, but going by precedent, I think if there's ever been a presidential candidate who stood in an election where the stakes were so high, that person could easily be Kizza Besigye in 2001. He didn't need a bulletproof vest.
2006 especially.
2006, he didn't need a bulletproof vest to campaign. But somehow, Bobi Wine and some people who claim to care so much about his plight here have internalized and accepted this threat that he faces from the Ugandan state that necessitates him wearing a military vest and to match a helmet and campaigns across the country, and that message has been packaged that way. So to that group of people, him evacuating his family is consistent with the message of his campaign. But I think it undermines his campaign in Uganda, because if he's going to govern Uganda, so his kids will come back after only he has won, what happens when he loses? But also, how will he secure not secure the future, but how will he guarantee the safety of Ugandans that he's convincing to make him president if at the slightest fear that the lives of people around him may be in danger, he evacuates them to the United States? So it raises more questions around the kind of leader that Bobi Wine is, or the kind of aspirant that he is for president.
Of course, a few people mentioned that certain hardcore Pan-Africanists who really love Uganda, love all Uganda's proverbs and history, when it came to their daughters giving birth, they were flown to Europe, in a country whose hospitals are everything is just up and whatnot.
How many daughters?
No, I'm just saying some people.
No, but how many?
No, even if it's just one, the principle is it's this. I mean, you might say, where was Besigye's child today? Is it Oxford University, Harvard? I don't know. In other words, there's this side to us. It's a whole separate story. I see what you mean, but in general, it's a it's a contradiction that we, the so-called African elite, face, where, the heart, a certain degree of sentiment, a defiant tone is Africa our place, Europe don't tell us what to do. But virtually every African, just think through all the elite, or at least the majority of them. There's that rootedness, it's a fellowship, it's a scholarship, it's some dual citizenship with the US, France, and wherever. It's African presidents in West Africa who spend, a quarter of the year in France and whatnot. It is President Paul Kagame feeling, where was the West when we went through this genocide, but his children, I think it was the girl and the boy educated in the US. It is President Museveni here, really defiant and thinking the West, lousy culture and whatnot, but makes sure his son Mhozi goes to Sandhurst, his children have studied university board. In other words, I'm just talking about the wider fact in which we are sort of like strangers in our own land. Typically, across the board, the Minister of Health comes in, and on one hand, it's, wow, we've contained this corona, and then at the slightest cough, she's out for treatment abroad. It's Uganda's political elite and government going for treatment abroad. I'm just widening it to that for you to understand.
Yeah, but Tim is raising a very important point. Perhaps
in general,
what I want to say,
it's a
I agree with
state.
Tim that we face a construction. Although I don't think that sending your children to study abroad on scholarship is a bad thing. In fact, if you look at countries like South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Singapore, and now China, one of their biggest sources of rapid transformation is not capital in form of money, the mobility of financial assets, but it has been capital in form of skills. They sent their people to study abroad and acquire skills and technology and scientific knowledge that they came and applied at home for their own industrialization. So it is the development of human capital that has been the biggest driver of the transformation of those countries, not the injection of foreign capital. Africa's biggest problem, I would say, is that we export less of our people, and those the few export don't come back. And then we think that it is capital in form of money rather than capital in form of skills that will transform us. That side, I want to go back to the broader position that Timothy Kalyegira was making, and this is, there is a mentality in us to seek safety away from Africa, in which case Bobi Wine is just a reflection of the general trend that African elites, or the major contradiction African elites face. But then the question becomes, Bobi Wine is standing on a platform of change. He criticizes Museveni because, while you do not mention Museveni, there is a time Museveni used the presidential jet to send his daughter Natasha to deliver in Spain or somewhere in Europe, in Germany, to give birth. And President Museveni himself, I don't think, has ever been admitted to Malago. Obote was, I know. But President Museveni, no. So Bobi Wine has, and his people stand on the platform of change, that for us, this is our only home. What he's doing is a contradiction of the very promise he's giving us even before he gets into power. Yeah. I am sure when he gets into power and he's corrupt, he will tell us, but you see, Museveni was also corrupt. When he's nepotistic, you see, Museveni appointed his son and his wife and his brother-in-law and his daughter into government, so I also do the same. I get the sense that people in Nup have a tendency to justify their actions when criticized by saying, but Museveni does it. But you are fighting against Museveni.
Yes.
You are against the practices of this man.
Yes, and now, just before bed, maybe
but I think the main
thing... let's do it like this. Let's take another break. When we come back, we shall continue with this discussion.
The hottest debate on all relevant topics, live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight. KFM's Hot Seat covers all the relevant topics every weekday, 7 to 8 p.m.
You know, the first time I tasted Now's Special, a smooth blend of sweet and bitter met my taste buds. It's truly a special taste, a distinctive taste that sets Now's Special apart. Brewed from our very own ingredients to give you the most rewarding taste. A taste like no other. That's why it's always been the taste for me. Ask for your Now's Special at the right price today at 3,200 shillings. Now's Special, the true Ugandan reward from the source. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under the age of 18. Please drink responsibly.
Download the Your TV channels and get all your Uganda TVs and radio channels on your smartphone. Your TV channels allows you to watch live TV, listen to radio, rewind, pause, record and catch up on your missed shows on all TVs and radio programs. Register using your MTN number to get a 30-day free trial and stream all TVs and radio stations without data for a full month.
Cash, chupa ku chupa. Wait, cash, nusu ku nusu. Bring your empties to go cash. But the empty will give you cash. Empty your club Nenairo. Cash. Igolaga neka so light. Cash. Drink finish, collect your cash. Now chupa ku chupa, nusu ku nusu.
On cash for every bottle you return in a good condition. Get 500 shillings for every Igolaga or Ego Extra Empty. And get 600 shillings for Club, Now Special and Ego Duck Empties. You can get up to 22,000 shillings for a crate. Take your empties to the nearest Now Breweries depot or collection point and get cashed. Terms and conditions apply. Enjoy responsibly.
Forget the times when you used to queue up to access the NSSF services at any branch. You can now access your NSSF account and all services online from anywhere at any time using any device, from your laptop to your Katochi, without visiting the branch. Isn't that awesome? Access services like submitting and tracking your benefits claim, viewing your account balance and detailed statement, updating your account information, registering with NSSF, and many other services. Choose from any of these self-service channels, the NSSF Go app, USSD *254#. Call our toll-free line 0800 286 773 or visit www.nssfug.org for more details. So, get online and enjoy a world of convenience.
NSSF, a better life.
933
KFM's Hot Seat. Hear the real story behind the story. Coming right at you. Only on 933 KFM.
Welcome back to this edition of the Hot Seat this evening, featuring Timothy Kalyegira, Quest Tabaro, and Obed Katurebi. Obed, you are coming in to respond to
I was coming
point.
into the biggest challenge. We like you correctly observed, the Orientals took their children to the Western world and paraded innovation and a lot of creativity, and they've been able to a little bit almost match the West in terms of technological innovations. But back to Bobi Wine's taking of his children, it's just one thing. He's not taking them to any university to acquire the best skills. He's not taking them to a hospital to acquire the best medication. He's just evacuated them for their own security. And now he's evacuating them to a country where he's participating and has invested a lot of money in seeking the biggest office in the land. But since he's already anticipating chaos and whatever, it's an indictment to his voters that he assumes probably his presidency will be realized, or if he does not make it, probably the country will collapse. I think I find it a big mistake strategically.
Obed, it could be, and this is what I think. Bobi Wine is actively organizing violence and therefore knows the likely costs of his actions on his family. And he's taking, because there's something Bobi Wine knows that the public should know, and that is that he is involved in active organization of violence. They believe in NUP, that they have already won the election. January 14th is a mere coronation, and any result that is not victory to them will be theft. And therefore
I suppose that's going to. But again,
and that is the explanation and justification of his actions. We should be very clear about it.
No. But again, Andrew, that's what I was coming to. He is already telling his supporters to go to vote in numbers, not to leave polling stations, and police is telling them already, you have your vote and go. It will only be the agents of any candidate that will stay to witness the counting. Now, how we will hit, and of course there is that grand agenda of saying, Plan B, somebody talked about it, which is inciting people, say we must fight up to the last person. Who will believe him when he has evacuated his own family? Serious mistake. So, in my view, Bobi Wine has made a serious blunder, and going forward, I don't think, except for very, very few, will believe in his thing, we'll we'll go to State House.
Okay. Even if I was to, I listened to Bobi Wine in his interview, and I think what the point he seemed to be making was that he had received prior intelligence that the security services could possibly kidnap one of his kids and force him to make a decision. He didn't elaborate which decision, but my suspicion is that the way the election is likely to turn out, it's going to be hard for the NRM to win, not just in Kampala, but in what you would consider Greater Kampala metropolitan, so Kampala, Mpigi, Wakiso, Mukono, those areas, much as the NRM may win in all the other parts of the country, I think their margins in the central could be so low. And
Low
since
as
that,
like what?
20%, 30%, or even lower, and that coupled with the anger, but also with the kind of campaign that NUP has been running, especially in this part of the country, they may want to ride that wave and say, you know what, Bobi Wine is our elected president and all. And you know, this is the center of gravity of Uganda. They could easily cause a stalemate where, yes, the NRM has won, but the NRM cannot mobilize enough of its supporters to guarantee its victory. So it's left to the security services, and there's a stalemate for a week or two. And one of the options for the security services would be to cause Bobi Wine to publicly call his supporters to go home because he has accepted the loss. And I think he wanted to put that option out of play, which is very likely.
How does the presence of his children? So, the government of Uganda would kidnap his children?
Well, could be not the government of Uganda. Could be rogue elements within the state who want an end to this stalemate, who will kidnap one of Bobi Wine's kids or two of them and force him to make a concession.
Timothy,
not that the NRM would not have won, but the stalemate would cause them to do
as I said, that like everything about half empty, half full glass, it depends on the way one wants to see it. If you're unsympathetic to Bobi Wine, which people like Andrew are, or to anybody in opposition, then of course you will want to rub all this in. If you're sympathetic to the Bobi Wines, which an equal number of people, it will still be a case of no, as I think he himself said, he had said, my children stay around here, let's just fight to the end. And he said several friends and I think family members in the US said, just bring us the children, at least just bring them to us. So you can say it's all spin, but to me that's not the biggest of issues. Yes, if you really want to sweat the small stuff and really get like all that personal, you can say that shows is a coward and all this. But then the broader question for me still is, why do we even have this kind of election? And as the general climate in which this election has taken place, you can call the Bobi Wines hooligans, you can say the Amuriats have defied all these COVID SOPs and everything. But how do you explain people like Mugisha Muntu, whom most people in Uganda view as kind of moderate, rational and all this? How do you explain the many times he has been stopped from holding his rallies, scheduled rallies, masks all on? In other words, when you start getting into people like Mugisha Muntu facing nearly the same treatment, now that's become difficult to explain. So in other words, we really must sit back and just say that the broader picture isn't to narrow down on little things. Bobi Wine decided to come for the campaign, for the voting day, and he was not wearing an NUP t-shirt. You see, it shows if you believe in NUP, why wasn't it? Then you get all that petty, and well, there's no degree of...
No, but in this case, Timothy,
yes,
as a leader, he made it very clear that he doesn't have an exit option.
Exactly, like I said.
That's why he has a big stake.
Yes, to answer
now
the question.
all of a sudden it turns out.
Yes, I agree with you. Like the way, if you're determined,
you are trying to trivialize this issue. Let me ask you this.
No, I agree with you. It's like I say, Andrew, the contradictions come. Then an equal number of people can say there was Museveni claiming all this Pan-Africanism, and then takes his children like to schools, hospitals, but all leadership, there's that contradiction that we generally go through. But the broader question at a national level, yes, there's a contradiction. You might say, you're law abiding, why divide the COVID SOPs? Now, once again, that day he was arrested in eastern Uganda, there was an interview held live on NTV. Many people haven't seen that bit, where he said, people, I'm telling you, wear masks, social distancing. He does all these things. As I say, if you're determined to find faults in him, you will find faults. And as I say, you can also start saying, there's President Museveni. You claimed, Africa's problem is leaders who stay in power. There's always a contradiction.
Timothy, what I want to know
the broader question is why...
Let's come to the broader question. If Bobi Wine is organizing a political resistance against a brutal dictatorship, as he says, it means that his struggle places the lives of very many of his supporters and citizens of Uganda at risk. Why should his family be the only one to enjoy that privilege of evacuation?
As I say, if one is determined to narrow down and say, you said
is
ABC...
Bobi Wine, let me also continue.
Yes.
Is Bobi Wine facing a worse situation than
as I say...
wait.
Yes.
Than other candidates too. Is Bobi Wine facing a more repressive regime than Mandela faced in South Africa. He was there with his wife. He went to jail. The wife remained with the children.
As I say, Andrew.
Why does he think that his children
as I say,
and
Andrew,
his family should
Bobi
be
Wine,
isolated
Andrew,
from
and
this?
even if Bobi Wine were to come in wearing a blue pair of jeans on election day, you, Andrew, would say his claims, his NUP, he should be wearing red from
I
top
disagree. You're trivializing the point.
But you are trivializing everything.
You see, when you are a leader,
Andrew, you will, Andrew, even if Bobi Wine, let's say, wrote a post on Facebook or Twitter, and there was one spelling error, you, Andrew Mwenda, would go on, have a 1 hour video saying you want to
Andrew Mwenda. I think it should be the issue we are raising.
No, it is Andrew. In Andrew Mwenda's
there are
case,
also 10 other candidates in the same race.
We
are not discussing the
on social
others.
media. It was not on Andrew. It was all over.
Yes, but for me the question is, even though Timothy wants to personalize it to me,
because you're personalizing it to Bobi Wine. That's the problem.
Okay, so are Ugandans been evacuating their families?
But you know, many people do evacuate their families.
So how many Ugandans have evacuated their families?
The point
how
is
many
this,
of the presidential candidates have evacuated their families?
as I say, if your interest is in looking for contradictions, I will come in. I'm just speaking as a neutral person. I'm not an NUP person. I will say, okay, that's a condition of Bobi Wine. But I'm not an NUP person. No. I'm just no. I am, first of all, okay, I personally believe I could be wrong, but I think that if we talk about democracy, regardless of how equipped they are to run the state, first of all, that the mistreatment of these NUP people just feels wrong to somebody like me. And I've been telling my friends in NRM, be concerned about the method especially. Forget the reasons, but the method. Because this rearresting people, this planting ammunition on people and take the military police barracks, don't do things that remind people of, you might say, the 1980s, 1970s, because one day when the NRM has finished with the opposition, it comes down to you. So I'm just saying, be careful of the method. Even if they go in and violate the SOPs, make sure we don't see bloody scenes and whatnot. So in other words, my wider view is this.
But Timothy, it takes two people to quarrel. You argue as if in this contest there is Angel Noop and evil security.
Like I said,
because how security of Uganda
Andrew
responds to
for the last 10 years
has a lot to do with also how Nup behaves.
Yes, but you see, Andrew, like I said, first of all, those of us who know a little more Ugandan history than the average person know very well that there's also such a thing as infiltration. In other words, it's been all these tricks of the NRM from the Luero days. Dress up in UPC t-shirts and harm the crowd.
Now you have gone to your conspiracy
but it's not Andrew, Ben, let me complete this in 10 seconds. Andrew, you know very well, even off the microphone, you interviewed Obote. You remember this series the Monitor ran.
Yes,
you remember that TV. What I'm saying, but the affairs were quoted in your own article, April 15th, 2005, in the Monitor. The interference and to win, conceding and boasting about how we used to go and dress up as UNLA.
So you're saying NRM
they said it.
Those Nup hooligans actually NRM.
But I'm just telling you that's what it is. I can tell you off the microphone.
We gotta take another break. We'll come to you, Obed. We need to reduce the heat.
You are ready to
KFM's Hot Seat. It's hot, it's live, provocative, and digs deep into the issues. It's KFM's Hot Seat.
Maria, are you done washing the clothes? Madam, I did long time ago. What do you mean long time ago?
Yes, I used Blue Magic Laundry Bar Soap. It lathers well and aids fast washing with softness on my hands. Besides, Magic leaves the clothes sparkling clean and smelling nice with lemon perfume.
Blue Magic Laundry Bar Soap, a product of Bidco, now in 1 kilogram and 600 grams, available in all outlets near you.
Did you know that ever since Operation Wealth Creation Officers joined hands with NADS, the inputs distribution exercise was streamlined and more farmers were reached, hence more yields? Please visit the Operation Wealth Creation Coordinator of your district at the district headquarters to benefit from this program.
This message is brought to you by the Government of Uganda through Operation Wealth Creation.
Enjoy the superior taste and premium flavor of Uganda Waraji and Bond 7 in the 200 milliliter pack for only 4,000 Uganda shillings at a Kaduka near you. Tunyumireva Nangi. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under the age of 18. Please drink responsibly.
933 933 KFM.
hottest debate on all relevant topics live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight. KFM's Hot Seat covers all the relevant topics every weekday, 7 to 8 p.m.
Welcome back to this edition of the Hot Seat featuring Timothy Kalyegira, Obed Katurebe, and Questa Baru. I am your host, Old Man of the Clan. Now, Obed, you are saying? No, I want us to go to discuss Trump's attempted coup in America.
Or even other national things. We're coming.
We have 5 days to the elections.
Yes.
But still, before we go to another topic, I think, Tim, you also must realize, and like Andrew was saying, it would be very wrong to tend to whitewash Bobi Wine and his group. You must realize, one, he is not that sophisticated person to be able to reign on his group of fanatics, most of whom are radicalized and probably much more unethical, and the extent to which they can cause damage. People were undressing women downtown. Those were
those were NRM people dressing as NUP.
But okay, let me also give you my submission. I mean, people hit some old man who was coming from Bukedi going to Ruelo just because he had a round hat. He's a father-in-law to one of my cousins was hit, and in the head, people saying these are the guys that have brought him 7 and made him stay for long.
Today they just killed a little lady wearing a yellow T-shirt downtown.
So
mobs just
and from the word go team, there was nothing wrong for Electoral Commission to arrange the elections the way they did. To say we are going to get a business of health, gather as few people as can be, let them sit. I mean, President Museveni has all the liberty to probably violate more than the other candidate, but he's so restrained. If there's 200 people, he'll gather only 200 people in a tent, and he'll be a far distance. Even if some people are trying to also be indisciplined, he'll just drive past them. But Bobi Wine and Power just came with all their chests and said, we are not going to listen to anything. In fact, I think the Electoral Commission has been so lenient, I don't know, they should have even disqualified him. But anyway, that would have brought another story. Days are ticking, and the beauty of it, well, like Kwezi says, he might win some areas around Kampala and the metropolitan, but that's not Uganda. Uganda is defined by all the boundaries from every corner, and those people will vote. And far from probably what some people are saying, I think will stay peaceful. Like
and to let me read for your police statement, which was issued today. The police say
but then you're gone.
I've seen and observed a video that has been trending on social media where a mob is seen beating someone dressed in a yellow T-shirt. While police is still scrutinizing evidence gathered so far, it has emerged that on Wednesday, January 6, 2021, 2 criminal gangs, commonly known as Kifesi and Bigali, were mobilized in Kisenyi and given partisan politically inclined T-shirts with intention to cause chaos and mayhem. The group walked from Kisenyi Road towards Blue Room while robbing phones and money from the public. However, they met a stiff resistance a few meters away as they were approaching the junction of Kafumbe Mukasa Road, where they were beaten up by members of the public and some consequently undressed. Police from Old Kampala responded, and 3 suspects, Kateraga Mohammed, Ogutu Bernard, and Ngubiri Charles, were arrested and 2 damaged phones recovered from them. The 3 were charged with theft. So this is Deputy PRO Kampala Metropolitan Police. Anyhow, okay, at least now we.
Yes, I was still coming to what Obed mentioned. I mean, I find it difficult, but I mean, you have to sympathize with the position that Bobi Wine finds himself. Yes, you can say, we've had the most violent election and all, and this, the NRM is to blame, or the government is to blame. But also you need to look at NUPS, and especially Bobi Wine's brand of politics that he has brought into this campaign. It has made him hostage, not just to hostage to the government, but also hostage to his own group internally. And I'm thinking perhaps an even greater threat that he faces is how he will deal with the disappointment of all those people around him who have suffered personal loss, people in his bodyguarding corps and all, who have had to sacrifice their jobs, and he has promised them that they'll win an election, and they don't on January 14th. He's not in parliament. He doesn't have any business to give them money. How he will handle that, and whether they'll be willing, because for him he may concede defeat, but would they accept defeat, having suffered the kind of personal loss that they suffered, but also from the interviews on TV when one of their own is killed, you can clearly see a group of people who feel it's now or never, and that Bobi Wine will drive them past that
Well,
place they want to be.
To argument your point, Kwesi, there are two strategic risks to Uganda's both security and stability that come out of NUP. One, NUP are absolutely convinced, without any shadow of doubt,
They've won the
that they have won the election. NUP believe that what is going to happen on January 14th is a coronation of their victory, a confirmation of their victory, not a victory. The victory has been secured. It needs now to be confirmed on 14th. That's one. And they're so convinced without any shadow of doubt. Second strategic risk is that if you look inside NUP, NUP is very different from FDC. If you went into FDC, whatever the weaknesses you would identify with Besigye and his people, there were pillars of restraint inside that party. In Ruzindana, people like Wafulo Gutu, Jacques Sabiti, older people. At one time, they said the Richard Kajukas were there. They were older people, more experienced, more reflective, who exercised some degree of influence on Besigye and restrained
his actions.
Not just his personal actions, because Besigye was also much more reflective, but the actions of the younger members and supporters of the group from taking drastic and risk action. But if you go to NUP, I think
there's no hierarchy to start with.
Yes, it is a flat organization with very young people, angry at the self-invented social enemies,
that is your
and
version.
believing. Timothy White, but we have listened to you. You tolerate other people's views. So all of us are here to give our opinions. So, and I don't see in the one, given the conviction that they have already won and they are just waiting for a confirmation of their victory, and two, given that there are no voices and pillars, strong pillars of internal restraint on the kind of political action you will take, what we have is really a cocktail that can lead to chaos. The only problem is that they are dealing with a state and a system that is exceptional, of course, adept at the managing and containing such eruptions. Because should they shift from a political contest and say that this is a military contest, then they will emasculate the very democracy that they are trying
to
build. Because you see, democracy requires that all of us should be free to come on radio and speak. And it requires a certain degree of stability. There cannot be guns outside there and you have a certain amount of freedom. So the state in that contest will certainly prevail over them so easily. But the consequences will be that so many of the people who are activists fighting for democracy now will be seen as insurgents. So you transform yourself from being part of the political opposition, you become part of political subversion. You transform an election into an insurrection. And that is a dangerous thing. So if you want to preserve democracy in Uganda, it is important in a democracy to accept a loss, even though that loss comes unfairly. It is not true that in an American election, it is always fair. I will give you an example. Why did Trump win Texas? The fourth largest city in America is Houston. We all know that Democrats were doing pre-election voting. They, in the whole state of Texas, they had 4 areas to drop your ballot. Just 4. And the Republicans went and even created fake drop areas where many Democrats were dropping their ballot boxes, and then they would be carried away as trash because the machinery there of the state was controlled by Republicans. So there was a lot of rigging in the last election in the United States on either side. It's not true that whatever Trump is saying is totally false, but there is a lot of manipulation of the process. But the candidates participating in the process accept the outcome, not because it is perfect, but because they know no human institution can be perfect.
That's the challenge. One point. Tim, if you can give me one, you are missing Andrew. NUP does not believe one, and they're waiting to be announced president. Their sole purpose in all this is to give this impression of having been rigged, having been killed, having been tortured, and probably America comes out of seat in Washington, creates strong sanctions against the Republic of Uganda, and probably declare a no-fly zone, and maybe bombs begin raining.
That's a section of NUP.
That is when you see the appeal to the Western powers, how they are appealing to the senators in the US, how journalists must focus. He's giving many interviews than even looking for votes to the Western media to give the impression he's being tortured, he's being killed, he's been so that maybe Uganda can be credited.
He's been killed. So
let me speak.
Probably then Uganda can be the Western world can do what they did to Libya to President Museveni. That's their primary objective.
Now,
they have no numbers across the country.
Now, if in my that's what I say. It's just like the way throughout the mid-80s NRM NRA were bandits and all this. And then when they take power, now they become the legit. It's just the usual story. If NUP, for whatever reason, or FDC would take power, then all narration, all top stories, all protocol, all embassy staff all over the world, Bank of Uganda, all institutions, the entire narrative of Uganda, all the Bush War memories, all the campaign memories, it will become like the way NRM became the mainstream story. Like the way in Rwanda, everything Hutu, Haberamana, everything pre-94 became oblique, don't talk about it and all this. You must go back to all magazines and say, but they used to call Rwanda the Switzerland of Africa. So it's not like it began after Kagame. So this story is always told by the victors. But my experience with these NUP people, first of all, knowing Uganda, I would not rule out those stories people say of violent hooligans, whatnot. There's a bit of that all across the board in Ugandan society. But surprise, surprise, the NU people, from my personal encounter with them, I encounter them quite a bit. And I'm saying them because I'm not an NU person. I actually find them quite almost like boring. But you remember, Andrew, when you went to Kamacha, when you began saying, you're going to pick up forms to be a new person, you remember how they received, all this hilarious thing, jockey and all this. They're Ugandans like anybody else. And I know people are trying to hint that these are Baganda militants. But if you know, like, the typical Muganda, if you know the Baganda culture and whatnot, there is that sense, on one hand, there seems to be this, Baganda militants and whatnot, but actually, Baganda are really almost harmless people. In fact, if you want, I almost find the NUP like naive and like irritatingly like mild from my point of view.
Did you watch the events of November 18th and 19th?
I do, like I said, that some, you see, people like us who have read all the CIA books and who have read Uganda's history inside out, this talk of years of the hooligans went and stripped people NR t-shirts, that's for naive listeners who don't know Uganda's history. Some of us who know Uganda's history, who know how things are staged, beyond just how intelligence works.
Government would sabotage.
Like I said, you tell your stories to Ugandans who are naive, but some of us who know Uganda's history, who know the Luero story, who know the story of Idi Amin and Amin went and killed who know Uganda's secret history back to the 1950s. You go and tell anyone else the story about they went and got people with NRM t-shirts. Those and about things like the Daily Monitor columnist Nicholas Sengoba says, Museveni is one trick, one track mind. You repeat the same things and all that. Like I say, please narrate that to people who don't know Uganda.
For me, the most important thing that we'll be looking out for in the next 5 days and possibly after is after this kind of campaign, what would be, in case they don't win, NUP's exit strategy? Would they focus on becoming a formal party in parliament? How will they have performed in the parliamentary elections? Some of their key members in Kampala had spent most of their time accompanying Bobi Wine and not campaigning, and by the time they came to Kampala, campaigns had been suspended in Kampala. Would that, and this is their stronghold, would that affect their fortunes? And could they possibly lose to more established opposition parties like DP and FDC, who have not hidden their disgruntlement with the kind of wave and the way NUP is conducting its politics? So in that new parliament, where they are not necessarily going to have a majority, even within the opposition, how will they manage the politics?
The other person, of course, is Bobi Wine. Since he's not a member of parliament, will he look for another seat and one of the members maybe resigns the seat and gives it to him? What is going to be his political role going forward? What is his vision of NUP? Because NUP is absent in local councils. NUP will be very thin in the parliament. If they don't win the presidency, what will they have? And what is it that they will keep them going?
But also for the NRM. But Andrew, so you know, probably I said something back. At least they will be
discussing the weak party called NUP.
They will be NUP will be the biggest opposition. And
why do you think so?
It has really eaten up in the FDC big time and DP. Probably if they are lucky to pull over 30 MPs, there's money that is shared by parties, and so not small money. And the government wants to increase the funding.
Has eaten DP and hardly.
No, he has eaten up.
Right. No, it was really.
And of course, if say he has that number of parliament, it will be the annual budget, and it is proposed to be increased to some good billions. So Bobi Wine will be having all that much money for him to enjoy, because his members of parliament will be having their parties, funders from outside, from what, he'll still live a comfortable life as the president of the second biggest party in Uganda.
Andrew, NUP has done to FDC and DP what FDC did to UPC and DP.
Exactly.
It really has. It's just that. It's really almost like an FDC too.
But also the other thing to look at is how President Museveni will govern in this new term, because he will... the country needs quite a bit of healing. Even internally, there is a lot of dissent within the NRM. I think in this election, the NRM has been totally absent. It's leaning too heavily on the state, that the state is almost close to the ground. So how will he revive the party? You can see he's been making peace overtures with some of his old comrades he had fallen out with. So
but isn't that also the problem of Museveni's politics, that for him to reinvent NRM, he needs to go to the old guard rather than get these younger people who are flocking to NUP?
I think he's lost them. I think he's lost them. I've been reading.
Thank you for making that point.
Yeah, but I think honestly, I think that Museveni's biggest problem, and I have written it on my Facebook, which Timothy never reads, or when he reads, he never sees what I'm saying. I think that Museveni is totally out of touch with younger people. I meet very many younger people, and
I think he can do that, but in the short term, I think the NRM needs to rediscover its soul.
But please, the leaders Museveni needs are leaders who are young, and he cannot always go to Kirunda Kiverinda, may God rest his soul in eternal peace. He cannot be going back to our mama. People in their 80s, in their 70s, there are people in their 30s and 40s, and
he doesn't have them now.
And when you deal with NRM, one thing is, as an organization, it has suffered extreme atrophy. That what exists is a group of individuals, not an organization. And Museveni and Ugandans mistake the winning of many individuals allied to NRM as NRM victories. That's one. The second, NRM has lost a moral purpose, that we came to power to pursue some grand vision. They lost it. It has become a cash and carry government and party. You just go there to make money. And one of the reasons why they have been retreating to bribery and coercion as alternatives is because of the absence of politics, which would be some purpose, moral purpose. And of course, I think that they are also exhausted as a party. I think there is also ideological exhaustion. Really, beyond the moral purpose, you must have something you want to do. Yes, so they have ideologically exhausted. What pains me is that the alternatives that come dressed in such dirty clothes that many people who would actually rally around a different Uganda just can't. And I don't know why Uganda is so trapped in this, that you have an extremely incompetent, tired, exhausted government that can no longer offer a future, especially to young people. It cannot even move small pieces inside. And at the same time, you have an opposition that is so disarticulated from the problems of ordinary people, because it can't offer a solution. It can articulate these problems by saying, okay, people don't have jobs, but it cannot articulate what is it that makes a country get jobs. What do we need to do?
Good point. But Andrew, you see, what you're addressing is secondary. The primary thing I think that the president needs to do is internal reorganization, because what you're talking about is acquisition of new blood and into leadership positions and all, and that's a much longer process. The NRM, like this election has exposed, is after 2016 there was no deliberate effort to heal the rifts that had been caused by Mbabazi's exit, and then the process through which Mbabazi was edged out and people like Tumukunde brought in also created its own intrigue. And you saw after 2 years, Tumukunde had to exit and Kalyegira also had to exit. In fact, some insiders within the NRM think that their biggest undoing in this election is Tumukunde, who was realizing the dynamics, decided to use some of the tricks he had used in 2016 and shared them with NUP.
We have to take another break. When we come back, we need to discuss Trump's attempted coup in America.
But yeah, KFM's Hot Seat. It's hot, it's live, provocative, and digs deep into the issues. It's KFM's Hot Seat.
Enjoy a premium flavor of Uganda Waraji and Bond 7 in the 2 pack
for only 4,000 shillings at a store near you. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under the age of 18. Please drink responsibly.
Condoms provide triple protection against HIV, STIs or STDs, and unplanned pregnancies. Remember, you can get pregnant and infected with HIV the first time you have unprotected sex. Don't take chances. Always use a condom correctly and consistently. If it's not on, it's not safe. Always condomize. This message is brought to you by the Uganda Network of Young People Living with HIV in partnership with the AIDS Information Center and the Ministry of Health with support from UNFPA.
Yes! Shell's 10 weeks of cheer reloaded is back with even bigger and better rewards. We're giving away over 400 million worth of prizes to over 90,000 winners. Yes! 90,000 winners. To participate, simply buy 50,000 shillings of Shell Fuel Save Unleaded or diesel for your car or 10,000 shillings for your Boda and share your phone number and number plate with the pump attendant. You will receive an SMS with your instant prize and an automatic entry into the draw to be among 4 winners to walk away with fuel worth 200,000 shillings every week. Yes, every week. Terms and conditions apply. Shell, go well.
933 KFM. And now, it's two-way radio. Pick up your phone now and join the action. KFM's Hot Seat. Coming right at you. 933 KFM.
Welcome back to this last segment of this edition of the Hot Seat featuring Timothy Kalyegira, Obed Katureba and Emmanuel Kwestabaru. Gentlemen, let us we have only about 8 minutes to discuss Trump's attempted coup. Timothy Kalyegira, what did you make of it? Especially you being such a great fan of Trump, ordering these gangs of his who invaded Capitol Hill. And I saw members of Congress running out of their chamber. Then I saw this man seated in the chair of Nancy Pelosi. I saw them breaking glasses and doors. I should tell you, this, for me, it was so liberating because America has been trying to pretend to stand on a moral pedestal lecture to everybody else. And then their chickens are coming home.
Okay, first of all, it really, like many people I was watching, I think BBC TV as the first people started climbing up there. It was sort of more like a run on a general civic people's. It wasn't quite the storming of the Bastille like it was in France in 1789, but it was a general sort of like coming onto gathering at that place, if you wish. And then, if you watch the videos very carefully, the Capitol Police sort of let these people in. This idea of storming quite wasn't. The very first motion beyond just the steps of the Congress where they were virtually let in. And that's where so many Hispanic and black Americans are really feeling so bitter. They say, but people, we have always told you about this white privilege. Just look at it. They say, can you imagine if those people had been blacks? If you see many of these videos, the police are, I don't know, helping this woman down the steps. Like, okay, bye, madam, go home. And then so-and-so now, Kwezi, go home. And what you did was very wrong. Go home and think about it. And then the other people there is in selfies. Basically, it was just sort of like Kalyegira storming. Is it the mango? And then it's like they came in protest. But
5 people died.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, but the general mood there, if you really look at it, the way they walking, when they entered the lobby of the Congress, these policemen going past them, everybody who watched that said the thing that left them most bitter was the very softish sort of like, is it right for you to go? Please go back home.
Kid gloves.
Yeah. So in other words, it was that. It was okay in a general sense. It was sort of like instigated as a general civic. I don't think intended to be like a smashing thing. Now, of course, the other people think that some of the infiltrators came in, did all this. But whichever way it is, I don't think it's going to dent America's image. As I said at the beginning, we have seen the yellow vest protests in France. We've seen all these the chaos of Brexit. The West has established a hold on the human mind, even if they set the entire Washington or London on fire and blow up all those buildings, somehow open the UK high commissions around the world, the US embassies will all want to go there. So it will be one of these wisecracks. Hollywood will even produce like a movie about it. It will be one of those things. They can't quite lose that hold they have on the mind as a standard.
I think...
isn't it that when a system is declining, a powerful hegemon is declining, there are small events that add up over a period of years, could even take decades, for it finally to crumble on its own weight. I don't agree with the Timothy that there is something happening slowly that is eating up Western society. And there may be
the 1960s, the 60s were daily, every week. Remember, Andrew, you know those documentaries and books. The 60s were much worse than this, but 69, man on the moon, internet invented.
You know, Tim stopped short of saying that it felt like an NRM protest in Kampala. The way it was conducted, but I think I wouldn't.
When NRM supporters protest, they were the police handles them.
Go home. You know, what's wrong with you?
That's what it felt like watching it on TV. But I wouldn't read too much into what happened in the US and the storming of the Capitol. It would mean a lot more if this had happened in June during the Black Lives Matter protests, because I think the protesters would not only have gone into Congress to take selfies and pose seated next to Nancy Pelosi's seat, but they would actually want to burn down and break tables and all that. I think the people who are in that room are people for whom the idea of America is already accepted. They may want to improve America, but they don't want to destroy it. And that's why the American state responded the way it did, and that's why you had all those mild statements. Of course, liberal media called
even
it
Biden. This borders on sedition.
If it had been the Black Panthers who stormed that house, I think it would have been considered something more serious.
But would they have acted differently? Not taken pictures, but just burnt down the building?
They would have burnt down the building.
Okay.
Well, I don't agree with Tim when he says it won't change America from being the superpower it is or technologically advanced country it is, but the more high ground the Americans and the American officials tend to posture around with has really been indented. I think I saw someone shared, if it's a true statement from the ambassador in Uganda, or there are so many words which is so unusual of a statement from an ambassador or from USA trying to explain this, but you could see her spirits were very raw by the actions of especially the outgoing president. So this moral high ground they've always claimed has gone down thanks to new media, because the other time when talks about human rights, people remind them of the brutal murder of this black American that led to demonstrations. If it comes to protocol discipline, statements that are reckless, that can incite, Trump has done them enough damage. Some extent, Trump brought them from that high moral ground, and they're just as good as Ugandan politicians. Yes, they remain a superpower, but moral high ground in terms of protocol correctness is totally down.
But I thought for decades, for the last 60 years, everybody has always known America, the West, to be hypocritical. From the chaos of the Florida
not as glaring as has been in the recent
America has always been glaring.
Let me ask you, I feel that
America has always been perceived as hypocritical.
I don't know, maybe the past always looks rosy, but I get the sense that American political process has reached a major juncture where the political divisions have so deepened and the two sides are so torn apart that trying to find a common ground on practically anything has increasingly become difficult. You know, for many years when Obama was president, I think for 6 or 5 years when he was president, they never even had a budget. They just couldn't even pass a budget. They have reached a point where the level of gerrymandering, what they call redistricting, or local laws passed in states when the Republicans are in control, or the Democrats, to try to frustrate the other side from even voting. Either side does very many dirty tricks. The difference between them and us is that the elite have a common agreement on basic national goals, that if these are the rules, however unfair they are, we are subject to them. For us, the rules must favor me. If they don't favor me, then I cannot be subject to them. And I think that's perhaps the difference. But if you read American politics at state level, because the American federal government does not have an electoral commission like Uganda, elections are run by states. So the state is the one that elects and decides every single thing as I said. So each state, whoever controls it, will pass rules and laws and regulations that make it impossible for the other side to vote. There is a lot of disenfranchising that has been taking place. Like now, in most states that are controlled by Republicans, if you are a convicted felon, you cannot vote forever. But most convicted felons are blacks and Hispanics. They constitute about 76% of the total.
Fines are so high.
Yes. Or they say for you to vote, you must pay a huge fine, and the fine. But the guy is so poor, he doesn't even have a job, because if you have a criminal record, you can't get a job. So you see, it is so unfair. But I don't know how you can pull America from that kind of mutual hostility by the two sides.
But like I'm saying, if you go through American history, from the civil rights movement, the chaos of the 60s, all Watergate scandal, America, every point, it is just, America has laws after Watergate, never get, America is always like that, contradictory, messy, everybody sees through it, but it retains that brand. As open the embassy doors on Monday.
It's like a Coca-Cola, a very bad drink, but everybody loves it. Okay, thank you so much, my guys, for listening to us. Have a good evening.
The hottest debate on all relevant topics live on KFM's Hot Seat tonight. KFM's Hot Seat covers all the relevant topics every weekday 7 to 8 p.m. Precise, to the point and accurate. This is KFM News.